Is that what you mean when you say judgment? Is that what judgment's about?
Yeah, judgment is learning how to work with people and not make them your enemies just because you disagree with them.
When you took over the party, you implemented a strategy that was a 50-state strategy. That was actually somewhat contentious back when you implemented it, but maybe in no other state other than Colorado has it really shown. I mean, this is a perfect example of kind of how the 50-state policy has worked. But Dan writes in saying, it's clear that this is not, though, a 435 congressional seat strategy, and he's concerned there are some candidates here. Can they expect the party's help who may be in districts that aren't demographically set up to be Democratic seats?
There's two parts of that answer. The first is there's actually an organization called the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee which handles all the congressional races, especially in presidential years. Our job is really just to do the presidential campaign in every fourth year. The second piece of this is a lot of this up to the state parties. There are races that are promising, where we have promising candidates that Washington won't know about or will write off. But because we've given the state parties more capacity, they have the ability to find those candidates and push them forward. The only reason that we became the majority party in 2006 in Congress is because state parties found candidates that Washington didn't know about or didn't think much of and pushed them hard, and they did very, very well, and many of them won seats. There is still that 435 candidate strategy. You can't pour money into a race where you don't have a candidate who's willing to work hard, and there's some of that. But the state parties will be able to pick up some of the slack when candidates fall through the cracks and don't get the attention of Washington.
You feel somewhat vindicated when you come to Colorado and see kind of what's going on here?
Well, what I feel good about is that the country is beginning to heal. A 50-state strategy was not just let's do this so the Democratic Party can win. It's to really get rid of this horrid mean-spiritedness of what the Republicans have done to politics. Newt Gingrich, Lee Atwater, and the Bush family, they've basically divided us in order to win elections. That's got to be done away with. We're Americans here, and as Barack has often said, it's more important that you're a good American than that you're a good Democrat or a good Republican. That's what we're really trying to do. This is bigger than the Democratic Party. This is about a great country that lost its way, and I think Barack can lead us back to our way again.
It's been said that kind of a country is defined by how it treats maybe its most vulnerable. And this question came in from Darla in Aurora, saying, assuming there's some agreement that the federal government has a moral obligation to help care for those who, through no fault of their own, are unable to live fully independent lives, what would you propose the federal government do to help address the fact that there are multiple states that have 10-plus year waiting lists for community services for children and adults with developmental disabilities like autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy? And I know as a doctor this must speak to kind of your soul even more than another.
Well, this is a combined responsibility of the states and the federal government. What we did in my state when I was governor in the state of Vermont was we focused very heavily, first of all, on initial services for small children and their families, because the toughest initial time is that the beginning first 3 or 4 years. It's where you can make the biggest difference in terms of what happens to a child with a disability. The next is the transition between when that person is a child living in the home or even living in an institution if it's a really serious disability, and adulthood. That is, what do you do when the parents get to be 65 and 70 and having a hard time caring for or managing the affairs of their disabled 35-year-old child? And so that's a very difficult part for parents of disabled kids. And the third is sheltered workshops. One of the things in Vermont that I was really pleased with, and the private sector has really stepped forward, is people with disabilities are great employees. They really are. And they work hard, and they are very loyal. And with some accommodations, they can be great workers for long periods of time. And so we have a real emphasis on trying to make sure that there are opportunities for disabled people because they become very productive citizens under those circumstances. But that, again, part of it's a federal responsibility and part of it's a state responsibility.
With some indulgences, I'm going to ask you a couple of my own questions because we have the largest convention about to convene here in Colorado history. To the average voter out there, what should they be looking for over the next week?
I think you should look for, first of all, the leadership shown by the Obama team. This is a team. This is not just about Barack Obama. This is a great team that he's put together. They're very thoughtful, bright people who I think will lead the country well. Secondly, I think you're going to look for a real reach out to the West. One of the reasons we had the convention in Denver, besides the hard, excellent work of Governor Ritter and Mayor Hickenlooper and the great staff and so forth, in Denver is because we wanted to send a message to the West. Now, the West is a place where they don't like big government. Turns out the Republicans have been the party of big government, telling you what to do in your personal lives, running up enormous deficits, tax breaks for big companies, but nothing for small business. And our message hasn't gotten out because we haven't showed up here. Well, now we're here in force, especially for the next week, and we want people who live in these western states, in Montana and Colorado and Nevada and New Mexico, even in Arizona, to look at us and see if maybe they think that the country wouldn't be better off under a Democratic president.
I remember 4+ years ago, you and I spoke on the student union at the University of Colorado when you were running your own campaign for president. You said the road to the White House goes through the West. Has anything happened leading up to here and now that would dissuade you of that belief, or has it been enforced?
If you look what happened in these states in the last couple of cycles, we picked up a seat in Colorado. We picked up 2 seats in Arizona. In the last election, we have a governorship now in Montana, Arizona, Colorado. We're going to pick up 1 or 2 more seats in Nevada this time. I think maybe another seat in Colorado, maybe another seat or 2 in Arizona. So I think, the West and the Democrats are working well together, and now we just need to keep our eye on the ball. But as I said, Senator McCain certainly is helping us with things like the water issue.
Governor Dean, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me on.